Arsenal hold Partey talks, Liverpool want more squad depth, UEFA explore their options, we've got a transfer roundup and today's Thursday favourites all coming up in the next few minutes as I'm your host Matt Frodak, you are the Onefootballers and this is the Daily News. So first up, and apparently Arsenal are in talks with Thomas Partey of Atletico Madrid. Now we spoke about this deal last week and there was a potential swap deal with Alexander Lacazette, how I didn't think it was going to happen, all this and that, but apparently Atletico still haven't tied down Partey to a new contract, which would see his release clause up from 43.5 million to 100 million. This obviously puts a whole new fresh perspective on the deal, and according to the player's father, his son actually admits to him that Arsenal have been in talks and he would be open to a move to the Premier League. It's just about how Atletico are going to let him go. This is actually, though, in stark contrast to what's come out of Partey's camp, his agents and that circle of people who have completely and utterly denied the rumours. Something's going on here that we don't quite know about, but having said that, I'm a little bit suspicious that at 43.5 million, more clubs aren't in for him. Like, he's not possibly one of the best midfielders in Europe, but he's not far off it. He's got absolutely everything you want from a defensive midfielder. He can play box to box. There pretty much isn't anything he can't do. So why on earth, if he's in the Champions League quarterfinals with Atletico Madrid, are more sides not looking at him? Like, it's not like he's an unknown quantity playing for a smaller side. He's right there in the limelight. I mean, they just beat Liverpool for God's sakes, and he was brilliant. I'm not so sure this deal will go by without a hiccup, if it does happen in the first place. Anyway, it'll be a pretty good signing for Mikel Arteta's side, and Arsenal fans definitely get a little bit excited about the prospect of Partey joining your club. But speaking of the Champions League victory over Liverpool, and Liverpool are looking at quite a different transfer strategy for this summer. Spoken a million times about how the fact there won't be much money available this summer, so instead of going for the big marquee signings like Jadon Sancho or Kylian Mbappe, Liverpool are rather looking to add to their squad, not get rid of anyone, but bring in some more depth. Now, the first name on the list is Timo Werner. I know you're going to say, what on earth, Matt? He is an elite striker. Apparently, the release clause in his contract is just under 50 million, which, as we know these days, isn't exactly a huge amount of money, especially not to a top six side in England. But alongside this, there's also reports move for Norwich's Todd Cantwell and, as well as Cantwell, Calvin Phillips from Leeds United. Both players may cost around £30 million, but again, Liverpool are looking to add to the depth of the squad, add to players who are going to fight for a position, but not necessarily be a ridiculous signing that's going to make the players in the first team maybe want to leave the club or even unsettle them. Like, if you're coming into the Liverpool side, you're going to have to be one hell of a player to displace the likes of Henderson, Fabinho, Jorginho, Wijnaldum, and obviously the front three as well. But if all of this doesn't work, there has also been a rumour that they're going to offer an extension to Adam Lallana. Now, it looked like the 30-year-old was destined to leave the club at the end of the season. His contract was expiring and he's not good enough for Liverpool's first team. Now, he's a bit part player and he's good enough for the squad, but if they can't bring anyone in, he's probably good enough to re-sign for even just another year. So next up, and not to more transfer news. No, we're going to take a quick break and go to UEFA, who are deciding not only how to finish the Europa League and the Champions League, but how to dish out next season's positions in the competition if the European leagues are cancelled. Now, first off, the Europa League and the Champions League, they want to finish it in August. I mean, it'll probably be crowned into a few weeks, but they're hoping to get this season's competition done by the end of August. So, next season, how is everything going to be decided if the leagues can't be finished by then? Well, of course, because it's UEFA, they're looking to go off the UEFA co-efficiency points. These are given out basically to how well teams do within the competition. So, if you were to give out Champions League places in the Premier League, it would go to Manchester United, Liverpool, Manchester City and Arsenal. That's because how far they've gone in the Europa League. The same thing goes for United and Arsenal. And of course, Liverpool winning it and Man City being in the competition for so many years, they've managed to get enough points. But the fifth team, now if it wasn't already ridiculous that Arsenal could get in there being in 9th position in the table, the fifth team is Tottenham. Now they are in 8th position and 7 points off the Champions League spaces, but they've been in the Champions League over the last few seasons for a lot longer than the likes of Chelsea have, and Leicester City as well. And on top of this, if Manchester City's 2-year ban sticks, well, the next in line will be Spurs to compete in next season's Champions League. Talk about being unjust. But that seems to be the way that it's going, and it will piss off definitely a lot of Leicester fans, especially who have done so well to fight their way into the Champions League spots. But it's not just the Premier League is happening, it's going to happen in the Bundesliga as well, with the likes of Gladbach in the fight for a top 4 finish, and they'll miss out for the likes of Schalke, who are absolutely nowhere near the top 4. So next up, in a quick roundup of the rest of the day's news and transfer news that you might have missed. Apparently, David Beckham wants to bring James Rodriguez from Real Madrid to Inter Miami in the MLS. Loris Karius is looking to cancel his loan deal at Besiktas and move on loan to Wolves instead. Phil Neville will step down as manager of the England women's national team. And lastly but not least, Schalke boss David Wagner has said the club can't afford to keep John Joe Kenny on a permanent basis, but would love to extend the Evertonians loan deal by another season. So finally, we come to this week's Thursday favourites. This is where you guys let me know in the comments section anything you want to discuss about your favourite parts of football. This latest one comes from Fernadi, who has asked, Matt, your 5 favourite penalty takers in football. Now, of course, this isn't the best. It's just my personal favourite. You guys can let me know yours in the comments section below. So first off, at the moment, it's Neymar. And honestly, I know loads of you are going to go absolutely mental about it, but as a penalty taker, he's pretty astonishing. In fact, he's the only current penalty taker who does a stupid run-up that I'm actually kind of on board with, because it looks so cool when he just slots it into the corner, and he seems to always go the opposite way to the goalkeeper. Second to Neymar, David Unsworth. Now, loads of you younger ones will be like, who on earth is he? Well, he was a pretty brutish defender who played for Everton and a few other teams, but mainly Everton in the Premier League, and he was a great penalty taker. Unbelievable, hit the ball so hard, so directly into the corner. But just the greatest story about him is that back in 2006 and 7, he was playing for Sheffield United in the Premier League. In January, he swapped to Wigan, and on the last day of the season, scored the penalty which kept Wigan in the Premier League and relegated their opponents. Their opponents on that day, Sheffield United. Football just writes these great stories, and Unsworth was a great penalty taker. Third on my favourite players to take a penalty, Frank Lampard. Not only Chelsea, but England as well. He was just unbelievable. I think he had over 40 penalties in the Premier League scored. I mean, just his technique when shooting in general, free kicks, whatever, was unbelievable, and his penalties were no exception to that rule. But talking of unbelievable techniques and smashing a penalty, Alan Shearer. Over 50 penalties scored in the Premier League. Every single one of them seemed to just fly in, roof in the air. Even if the keeper went the right way, it was just a phenomenally hit penalty. Not only was he smashing goals in from left, right and centre, but also deadly from 12 yards. And yeah, definitely one of my favourites. But in top spot, and surprise, surprise, it's a Tottenham player. It's Harry Kane. For those of you who have seen Harry Kane take a penalty, and I know those of you have because you say, oh, it's just a penalty he scored in the World Cup. Unbelievable technique. There is not a better striker of the ball from 12 yards in world football. All you have to do is watch a few of his penalties to realise that. They're incredibly accurate, incredibly well hit, and kind of in the Shearer mould, except with a little bit more technique than power. Anyway, for those of you who've seen him miss a penalty, which is very rare, the keeper has to make an unbelievable save right into the corner for this to happen, because otherwise, they're getting absolutely nowhere near it. So there you have it. There are my 5 favourite penalty takers. You guys let me know yours in the comments section below. Whilst you're at it, you can also smash the like button and let me know your thoughts on the rest of today's daily news. Don't forget to click here and here to check out loads of other content we've got going on Onefootball. Until next time, I will see you guys later.